District babies are the best babies.
The district? The Central?
Can we talk about the South End got the most culture?
And how we came up with the gigs dance?
But what Seattle really got the gigger team.
This is Seattle from the inside out.
From the inside out. What's good, Seattle? It's Ajala.
It's Sudi.
No, I'm Franco.
Yeah, I'm Miracle.
Welcome to our 6th official episode of the Youth Insider podcast, sponsored by the Southeast Network. Shout out to our guys in blue coats, heavy stepping in the streets.
Be safe, bro.
Be safe. Today, we're here to talk about community in action. So people, parents, students, just people on the ground and who make up the community, working in the community and working constantly to make the community a better place. Today, we're here with a very special guest from South Seattle, the Rainier Beach neighborhood, Miss Dawson. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. You can call me Alicia.
Alicia? Okay.
Yeah.
So, can you give us a little bit about your background, like where you grew up, where you're from?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in Seattle,
Mm-hmm.
and I've lived in Rainier Beach since 2007 with my family. My husband grew up in Beacon Hill, and before all of the neighborhood schools came into play, he got bused to Ballard from Beacon Hill, so he went to Ballard High School, and I went to school in the North End in Shoreline. And we moved down here with our family in 2007, 2008, and we've lived here ever since. We own a house in Rainier Beach. Our oldest daughter graduated from Cleveland. One of our older sons graduated from Rainier Beach. Another older son graduated from O'Day, and Connor graduated from Beach. And then we have a younger daughter that goes to South Shore. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So,
Sea Dragon.
it was funny coming in here today because we spent a lot of time in this gym when Connor played basketball. He played for A+, and he also played for Seattle Select as a little kid. And so we spent lots of time on the bleachers in these gyms, and I haven't been here for a while, so it was nice to be back. Mm. But, yeah.
That's good. So what's up with Alicia today?
Today is a little bit rough. Mm-hmm. We're coming into Thanksgiving and coming into Christmas, and this is our first holiday season without Connor. And so it's been kind of a rough day. But being here is good. I like seeing all you guys. It's always good. And it's just different.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So, word through the grapevine is, for people who don't know, you started an organization. Did you want to shed some light on that?
Yeah, so we're working on a nonprofit called Walk Away to Live. And basically what we're hoping is to start some leadership groups at the grade schools and all the way up through the high schools to kind of match kids up. So matching up kids in high school with younger kids to get everybody more invested in what community means. Lots of people are invested, right? Lots of us see each other around. Little kids see the big kids in the high schools walking around after school. But really getting them together and making it cool to be from the beach, making it cool to be involved in Rainier Beach, and not only in sports and in community programs, but really take note of what it's like to be part of a community where if you don't feel like you're getting like you're not comfortable or you're not feeling supported in one way, you've got all these other people that got your back, right? And you've got all these other people you can fall back on. And I think a lot of people have that, but there are so many kids that are missing that. So how do we start that younger and really push it all the way up so that when you hit high school, and that's some of the hardest time in your life, things are changing so fast, and your whole life is changing, and people expect you to know what's going to happen, after you graduate, and nobody knows. So making sure that kids know, hey, you've got people. You've got all kinds of people. And being able to kind of bring folks together. And then also putting together some scholarship opportunities for kids that are coming out of Rainier Beach High School in Connor's name. That was his spot that he loved. And so making sure that kids have the same opportunities that Connor's had.
I feel it. Thank you for sharing that. And then so when I hear like community, right, and then hearing like where your kids went to school, where your husband's from, and even where you're from, like community, you're not just talking about Rainier Beach, but you're talking about like South Seattle.
I'm talking about South Seattle as a whole. When we've looked at everything that's happened over the last several months, right? This isn't just about Connor. This isn't just about our experience that's been here. This is about all the kids that we've lost. We've lost a lot of kids this year. We've lost a lot of kids that we have a personal connection to. Lorenzo Anderson's dad and Lorenzo played football with Connor in Little League at Renton his first year. We lost Lorenzo this year. Christopher DeAndre Roberts is our family. He's our oldest son's uncle. And, Trey and all these people, Jamez Johnson and Adriel Webb and all these kids, Adriel's mom went to high school with us. We have these connections to all these families. And so when you look at everything we've lost, and this is from, the Central District all the way through, downtown technically with Lorenzo, but downtown all the way through the south end to Renton, all the way through Tukwila when we're talking about James or Tana Money as most kids know him. When we're talking about all of these kids and all these families that have been connected in a way that nobody wants to be connected, this is about all of that. This is about understanding that the stigma that's lived with the South End for so long has to go away. When we talk about kids getting murdered, the assumption shouldn't be that they deserved it, or they were doing something, or they were a gang member, or they were in trouble, or whatever, right? 911 gets called, police show. The assumption is, well, it's in the South End. Well, you should expect that. That's unacceptable. So when we talk about community, we talk about all that. It's that whole area, and not just the South End. Seattle has to take responsibility for the city of Seattle. And it shouldn't be divided in the way that it is. So when we're talking about community, it's really everybody's job to step up, because you don't expect it to be you until it's you. And that can happen anywhere. So did it happen to all of us down here? Yes. But does that mean it wouldn't happen in Ballard or Magnolia or somewhere else? We don't know that.
Thank you. And then so like as a parent, because like obviously as youth, I didn't grow up over here, but as youth that grew up over here, grew up in the Central District and whatnot, we like all grew up with these people that you name. We know like what it means to us like to lose like those youth. But for you as a parent, what does it mean to you to see not only your child, but just like other like children that you knew growing up?
These are kids that have stayed the night at our house. Sunday breakfast after Saturday football, these are our babies. Like I see kids that Connor graduated from high school with, and I'm like, these are our kids. Like these are all of our kids. And so there's no real way to explain that loss. Sadly, we know enough parents that have lost their children this year to create a support group with people we know. That's not okay, right? And you lose something so close, it doesn't seem real, and you see the pain from other parents who've lost their kids too. And you think, is that what I look like? Is that the pain I'm feeling? Is it the same? I don't know that you could ever explain what it's like to lose a child because it's so backwards. That's not supposed to happen. But I remember when Alexander, one of our older sons, 7th grade, I think, their friend Elijah Wan was shot. And I remember then thinking, his mother, his mom, and my heart was breaking for her. And you never expect that to be you. And then you think, today, Kira texts me, Connor's little sister, and says, well, I guess Alexander's going to have to put the star on the Christmas tree. Sorry. Because he's the tallest now. And Connor always did that. So that's the only way I know how to explain it. Mm-hmm. It's a shift in who puts the star on the Christmas tree. Sorry.
Go ahead and take your time.
You're good.
And I think it's like that for a lot of, I know it's like that for a lot of families. It's the stupid things, like a new pair of shoes just dropped. I'm not up at 5 a.m. online trying to get these shoes for Connor because he's calling me from school saying, Mom, I need these shoes. It's those things that you think about that are ridiculous. But at the same time, it's like, wow, it's a change. It's a big change. Mm-hmm. Sorry, it's still really fresh. It's still new.
Yeah, for me, I don't like me just reflecting over this year, during 2020, everything that's happened. To me, it's heartbreaking for me because it's I feel like in certain instances, it's we have all these organizations, all these people, even the people this that work for the city of Seattle. Right. And for me, sometimes it feels like they don't care about us, as you. Yeah. And then it's when you really reflect over what people say about Seattle, for example, it's one thing that gets on my nerves is people who are Seattle's not the hood. And I'm not one to glorify the activities that happen and losing people, but it's when you make that statement, it's neglecting all of these people, all these parents, all of our experiences. Yeah. And then it's I take it real personal when people say stuff like that. And I don't know, it's just for me, it's just I don't know. It's just, I don't know, it just hurts me because it's we can name so many different people and it's just not right. And it's me as youth, it's I just don't know what to do. Because it's I know I can do my part. For example, people have a very big pride thing about where they're from in Seattle. I always walk around, I tell people I'm from West Seattle in the Central District. But I tell people I'm from West Seattle in the Central District because it's it's deeper than gangbanging. It's deeper than all this neighborhood pride that we have. And it's I had to keep in mind with the kids even here at the Vista or the kids that I work with that at the end of the day you could be from somewhere, but it's really about kind of how you present yourself as a person.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And it's about your connection to that area, right? Yeah. So when people say Seattle's not the hood, the question should be in response, what's your definition of the hood? Mm-hmm. Because should the hood be negative? Mm-hmm. Should there be a negative feeling when people say you're from the hood? Or should there be a feeling of camaraderie? Should there be a feeling of, look at these amazing kids that we know. Look at these amazing neighborhoods. When Connor died, the amount of outreach that we got from the neighborhood was so amazing and so overwhelming, right? Just this huge outpouring of love. I don't know that we would have got that somewhere else. Mm-hmm. People say, well, aren't you guys going to move out of that house? How could you live there? No, no, we're not going to move. This is our neighborhood. This is our home. Connor's stuff is in his room. No, we would not move. We've gotten so much support and so much love, and that hasn't stopped. You know, it's been 6 months, a little over 6 months. How do you leave that? How do you leave a place that you know has you? Like when they say we got you, I feel that. I feel that to my core. How do you leave? You don't leave. You try to make it better. Mm-hmm. Can we fix it? It's going to take a long time. We didn't just get here overnight, right? We always laugh because when we were kids, you'd go to Columbia City, and it was nothing like it is now, right? You go to Columbia City and the Columbia Plaza and King Center and like all this stuff. You got shirts and all this stuff, right? and you go there now and it's like a totally different world. Mm-hmm. So there was a time in the 90s where the South End was considered the hood. It was considered bad. And that's when we were kids. And then things got a little bit better for a minute. And then in 2008, it was rough, a little rough again. There was a lot of gun violence around then. And then we were okay for a minute. But, you know, we live on 51st. We hear gunshots all the time. It wasn't as often, so it was feeling better. But I see the changes that you all are making, and I see the changes that our kids were trying to make. And that is what's going to change things. Is it going to happen overnight? No. It'll take years. It'll take years to shift that feeling. It'll take years to shift the inequity. Because inevitably, it all comes down to inequity. It comes down to Rainier Beach High School having the most, unsafe workout facility room in the district. Why is that? It comes to Rainier Beach being one of the last high schools to get revamped. It's all of those things that fall into that category of, we're down here. You need to see us. You need to hear us. You need to understand that we're trying to make changes, and we need that support to do it. So I believe it's our responsibility as adults to support the changes and all of the work that you all are doing, because that's what's going to make the difference. We can say we want all these things to happen, but really, you guys have such a huge voice and such a huge drive and ideas about the way you want things to be. It's our job to support that. So there's nothing like watching you all succeed and watching you make changes and get ideas. Elijah was just here. It's so fun to watch. And that's what gives us hope.
Mm-hmm. And then, so as a parent from the inside looking out, what do you think the city of Seattle can do a better job of with supporting us in our community?
I think that we have to support families. We have to support kids from the beginning. We have to allow parents to be able to be parents. We've got parents that are working 2 and 3 jobs. You come home, you're exhausted. How am I going to be my best self as a parent if all I want to do is go to sleep or eat dinner and watch, TV? Mm-hmm. We have to get from the ground up. That's why we say we've got to start young. Make people understand that getting help isn't a bad thing. Having community help is not a bad thing. Supporting each other isn't bad. These are all things that we should want to do. These are things that you want to take care of your neighbor. You know that the neighbor kid comes home early and they're there by themselves, check on them, take them a snack. It's all those things that sound a little bit corny, but those things make a big difference. Mm-hmm. When that kid knows they're not just home by themselves. Go to a game for your kid's classmate who maybe doesn't have a whole cheering section behind them. It's the little things that we can do to bring kids up. Because when they get to the point where they're sitting in front of somebody's house and they're making a decision in that moment, whether they're going to shoot somebody or not, if they feel like they've got support and they feel like they know that they can turn from that second and go somewhere where they are loved and supported no matter what they're doing, maybe in that second, their decision will change, right? If you have that growing up all the time, that second may change. If you don't have that, what are you looking for in that minute, right? You're looking for the people in the car to think you're cool. You're looking for the people in the car to think you're hard or whatever that is, right? You're looking for some validation. But if you're getting that from other places, you don't need that, right? You're telling other people, hey, I got you. You don't need to do that. So if we can do that, I think we can make change.
Yeah. While you're speaking on that, why do you think, like you coming in, starting your organization, to start people, getting involved and avoiding certain situations, why do you think there's like a big lack of it, specifically in like the South Seattle community? Does it have to do with pride or like
I don't know
how people grew up? Or
I think there's so many great organizations that we have already, right? Mm-hmm. And there's people that are doing such good work already.
Yeah.
I think for our family, and especially for Kira, because Connor was Kira's dude. He got her ready to go to school in the morning. He dropped her off at school. He learned how to braid hair on YouTube so that he could get her ready for school. Like, that was her dude. So for us, just being able to give out that family that we have, that feeling of family, that leadership, that, somebody's always got your back. Mm-hmm. That's what's important. So that's what we know we can give, right? We know that those are things that we do. And so there are tons of organizations that are doing great work. This is what we know we can do. This is what we can commit to on a long term. Not only for to help us heal, but also to help heal the community. Mm-hmm. And I think that, the city and the county, it all goes back to the inequities. It all goes back to social justice. It goes back to everything that the CD and the South End have been all these years, which has a negative thing for a lot of folks, right? So getting organized, staying committed, having a clear goal, those are things that we can take to places like the city of Seattle or to King County and say, this is our goal. This is what we're doing. How can you support us in doing this work, not only to better this community, but to better the city as a whole? Think of all the things that other folks that don't live here could learn from the people that live here. That's a huge thing. Think of all the stuff that you learn from people that you are around that you may not learn if you were somewhere else. So putting those things forward and giving people the opportunity to see everything that's down here for the positive, that's what we want to do.
Yeah. And Rainier Beach is like a family, like you said, nobody anywhere else, like say you were in the North End, like you don't know if like everybody's gonna come together, do all this. But over here, like, I feel like whenever something happens, everybody's there to support each other, and it's just like a family. And people like look down on South Seattle, but at the end of the day, everybody's always there for each other.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think you mentioned like really like that we should kind of like make it normal to be there while we're like present, not just when something happens. So like I think it's important for us to like really establish just the sense of community and family. I look at my community as a village, but like I feel like it's not like that for everyone. Everybody views it differently. And yeah, I find it important for kids to have that support. I grew up with a lot of support from my family, so I'm thinking it's just normal for people to just be family oriented and be around their family. So I could see how that can make a big difference for people in their upbringing.
Right. And I think that's the thing, that we can give that. That's free. It doesn't cost money. It doesn't take anything except for time and commitment. So when you go and you see kids and you know their name, right? When you walk into the school and you see kids that may not think that you remembered them, and they're probably like, oh, this crazy lady, right? But there's something about that connection. Not all kids have that. I may be the first good morning that you get if I see you at school, because maybe you got yourself ready and got yourself here, right? Those are little things that can change somebody's whole day. So we can all do that. It doesn't cost money. It doesn't take anything. But sometimes just seeing somebody, you know, you look up in the stands at your game and you see somebody that is there just for you. That makes a big difference. You know, that changes how you feel. That changes how you play. You know, maybe you show out a little bit more because your people are there. You know? Right. You know that when people are calling your name, those people are there for you. You know that when people are at your show or wherever it is, not just sports stuff, but when they're there for you. And that makes a difference. That makes you feel important. So, and that doesn't cost anything.
No, I appreciate that so much. Like, I think that work is like super important, especially like in our schools too. Because I remember when I was younger, like I had support from my family, and my mom, she was very like involved at my schools, like PTA, and like all like just coming to my classroom, and it's like just like seeing the difference in like attitudes and behaviors in the class was like really big for me. Because it's like I have a couple friends, and like there'll be like two people I'll be always getting into a fight with, and then there'll be like other like two or three people like I'm cool with and hang out with. And like every time my mom came, like it just made a difference. Like it just like either the people I was hanging out with, they're like more energetic, they're like behaving more in class, or the people I was gonna fight, and it's like not just because my mom was there, but they're like, there's no reason to fight, and it's like
it's different.
It's like they're like actually engaged with somebody,
right?
Because I felt like another thing is like how we're like treated in school too. Like not everybody like has those parents where it's like they're about to suspend me from the school, and they don't have a parent to come advocate. Because I know, like, I mean, for me, and that's just my experience. Like in elementary school, I was getting into this fight with this dude named Hamza every week. I was saying that
Hamza would be good for that. You're right.
Right, and I'm not even.
I've known Hamza for a long time.
And then so it's like to the teacher. Like we're like both of us are starting to fight, but like in my reality, he's picking the fight with me, but I'm not gonna let him like punch on me. So it's like, and so what they tried to do is they tried to like suspend him and me from the school. But then when my mom came, it's like neither of us got suspended. And so it's like not everybody like has those parents who are gonna advocate for them. But then it's like it's good to have those parents and those people in the community that you know you can count on.
Well, and the thing is that kids need to understand. Everybody makes stupid choices. Everybody. All your parents guaranteed have made stupid choices at some point in their life. It does not change how much they love you. And kids that don't have that need to understand there are adults out there that care about you regardless of the decisions you're making. You know, the person who killed Connor, we don't know who it is, right? We still don't know. Somebody knows. I don't know. But that person probably needs a lot of love in their life. That person probably is not feeling super supported or loved. You know, they probably need a hug. That's probably true. If we give all that support and all that love to people, it's harder to take other people's gifts away. Because if I have all that love inside of me, it's going to be harder for me to hurt somebody. If I'm filled with hate and resent and sadness, it's easier for me to go and poke somebody in the eye because I want them to feel like I feel. Right? If I feel loved and I can give that to other people, what does that do? It changes the whole dynamic of everything. You guys have that opportunity. We have that opportunity. That's, I think, how we can change things. It's sad to feel like we have no control. And I think all of us feel like that now. Like, who's going to be next? Mm-hmm. You know, every time it comes on the neighborhood site, there were gunshots. Oh, God. Who's going to be on Facebook this time? Who's going to be on Instagram? What's coming across? You know, who are we losing tonight? Hopefully we can curb that a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like something that really bothers me is like the media when like something happens. Mm-hmm. Like, especially like whether somebody's like shot or not, and depending on where it is, it's like whether we're the victim or the person who did this. I mean, I'm not going to speak on that part. When we're the victim, it's like the media portrays them as almost like when you said earlier, like as if they deserved it. Mm-hmm. And then like I can only imagine like what that feels like as a parent. So like as a parent, what do you have to say like to the media who like portray victims and like people who have lost their life to certain situations, and then they portray them a certain way in the media?
I think it goes both ways, and I know you said you weren't going to speak on it, but mm-hmm. I think on the flip side of that too, people who are considered, you know, the criminal or the people who did whoever killed somebody. The what?
Suspect.
Yes, the suspect. We all know there's a difference in suspects between black and white, mm-hmm. right? If I go run somebody over in the street, they're going to say, Alicia Dawson, she works for the county, she does this, she has 5 kids, she's this, right? If my husband runs somebody over in the street, they're going to say, James Dawson, he was arrested in high school. African-American male, he was arrested in high school for stealing a quarter, whatever, right? Like, they're not going to pull up my rap sheet for running somebody over, but they're going to pull up his real quick. Mm-hmm. So not only do we need to change what that looks like, because we're villainizing people immediately. This kid made one bad decision. Maybe they had a lot of bad decisions, but one bad decision that was a really bad decision, right? Do we villainize that person? Is that fair? What were the circumstances that led up to it? Right? So there's that. Then there's also, well, your kid was shot. He must have been doing something bad. Or all the stories that come out after, whether it's the media or the neighborhood or whatever. Connor was home because of COVID. He was taking Zoom classes from the UW because we forced him to leave the dorm because we weren't sure he was going to be safe in the dorm with COVID, which is kind of funny now. But I don't care if Connor was the most gangsta, mean, hating, awful, horrible, whatever person. That doesn't change the fact that that's still my baby. Mm-hmm. Do I think that he was like that? No. Are there stories that would portray that because of the way he died? Of course there are. As a parent, does it hurt my feelings? Meh. My feelings aren't hurt that easily. Does it bother me? sometimes, some of the stuff you hear? Of course. Does it change the reality that this is our boy? No. Do people make bad decisions? Sure. Do I know everything that every single one of my kids has done in their life? No. Does it change the fact that I know that they're good people? I know they're good people. Do I want to hear the bad stories? Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it makes me laugh. Do I want him to be villainized because of where he lived or because of how he was killed? No. I want people to understand that whatever the circumstances were leading up to this happening, there had to be a lot of stuff going on for the person who did it and everything that led up to that moment. Can we take that back now? No. Now we're here. How do we live the rest of our life with it? You don't get through it. Just like for all of you guys, you're not going to get through the loss that you feel from losing your friends or losing people you know. You learn how to live with that loss. People say, oh, you'll get through it. Well, where are we going? That's going to change, right? You don't come out to the other side and suddenly your friends are there. We're not getting through. We're learning how to live with it. So I don't think it's fair that the media or the neighborhoods or other parents or anybody villainizes the victims or the suspects. We have to go into this and find out why. Is the why going to change anything? No. But then we have to figure out how to help people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like going back to your organization, right? Like I like the whole idea of like, you know, supporting the community and redefining like what community is so that we can like reassess like our investment into the community. So like what are some ways that like not only we but like the community and people watching can help support you in like your movement?
Well, we're hoping, at some point that people will be able to be out and about again soon and be together. I think being together is a huge thing. We all have this sense of loss because everyone's so separate right now, right, with COVID. So as things move forward, I'm hoping that folks in the community step up to help out with mentorship, to help out, not everybody wants to go to college. How do we get mentors in here for trades and for other stuff? How do we give kids that hope? How do we give families support, not only from the community, but from all the organizations that are already out there, and not make those families feel like they're getting a handout? Because it's not a handout. It's me saying, hey, I can help you with this. So what we're hoping is that as people can get back together, as kids can be at school, hopefully, as these things start to happen, that people are really starting to circle up and say, this is what we're missing. This is what we've been missing since we've been home. We realize how important these things are now. We realize how important kids being at school is and those connections that they make, the family connections that parents make with other kids from school, other parents from school, and figuring out how we make all of that kind of circle around and circle up and say, these are our people, these are our kids, these are our families, this is our group, and these are the things that we do to support each other. So I don't really know what that looks like because I don't know how things are going to look moving forward. We don't know what the new normal is going to look like. We're all sitting here with masks on. Weird, right? So, and if this is a long-term situation, if we're all sitting here with masks on, what do we do in the meantime? I'm not really sure. We have a ton of people that are working with us who do nonprofit work. And the question is, how do we make it useful now with COVID and the lack of physical interaction that we have with people? What can we do to support people? Now we have to shift everything we were thinking about. So what does that look like? And I think those kind of solutions come from all the people that we're working with, all the kids we're working with, folks that are your age. How can we be supportive in the situation that we're in? Because the ideas that we had were pre-COVID, pre-mask, pre-realization that this is lasting longer than we hoped. We were talking about going into schools and really, going into family places. How do we do that now? I'm not really sure, but we'll get there.
And then, so reflecting back on like 2020, as we're like kind of like closing out the year almost, for people who didn't know the youth that we lost this year, how do you want them to be remembered?
They're funny and they're bright and they were doing stuff. They were doing positive things, all of them. Some of them larger and some of them smaller. They were loved. They made people smile. And we miss them. And I'm ready to put the Christmas tree up so we can get this year over with. 2020, it's a rough one. But they were loved.
So for anybody who wants to reach out and like help you moving forward, how can they like reach you?
Apparently people don't have a hard time finding me. Everybody knows where we live. Stop on by. No, it's been really, really great because we've had people at the house a lot. People come by, they reach out, they have our number. We're on Facebook and Instagram and all this stuff. We're working on a web page for Walk Away. But they can reach out anyway. People come to the house all the time. There's always food if you're hungry. But no, it's we would encourage folks to come by, to call. Our information is kind of all over the place. We're not real hard to find. We can add my email somewhere if you want. People want to do that. It's really, we've always had like a lot of kids at the house, so that's not new. But it's good. Everybody knows where we're at. So we encourage people. It's always a safe place for people. So we hope.
And then, so before we close out, is there anything you want to leave our viewers with?
I think that you all are awesome and that you are what's going to change things. Not only here, not only in Seattle, but in the entire country. And I think that you all are the beginning of a huge change and a huge shift. And it's important that you remember the power that you hold. And that power is going to change this country in a way that people may not be ready for, but it's going to be amazing. And everything you do is being watched by all the kids that are coming up after you. So remember that power and stay engaged and understand how important you are. And in the moments where things seem hopeless, remember how important you are and remember that power, because I don't know that anyone understands how your voices make such a huge difference. And it could be the littlest, tiniest thing that you say to somebody that will change their entire life. That's a lot of power.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming today.
Of course. Anytime.
Sudie, how can they reach us?
SRV Youth Insider on Instagram. Follow that. Stay updated. Also, there's the link to our podcast on there. Thank you so much for being here and speaking with us. We appreciate it. So yeah.
Thank you, Seattle, for tuning in. That concludes our 6th episode of the Youth Insider Podcast, Community in Action. Stay groovy.
We out.